lovely people, how are you all doing today? I do hope you are well. I am, if a little cold, but a bit of cooking to do today, so hopefully that's going to warm me up and I can get rid of the hoodie. The temperature has dropped a little bit here. It's getting really quite chilly at night, but we're still really damp, and that's what's making things feel so it's the perfect time of year for soup, yay! And I'm going to be doing a casserole in a couple of days as well, so you'll see that at some point soon. But yeah, today, let's crack on. Today I'm going to do one of two chard soups with the gorgeous, I mean, it's so beautiful, isn't it? I mean, the shocking, gorgeous colours of the stalks, audacious. So Chard is going to be the star of the show in both these soups I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days. I'm going to call this one my Northern European chard soup, and the next one is going to be my Southern European chard soup, essentially because of the difference in, well, there are going to be a few differences, but one of the big differences in North European and Southern European cooking is the fat we use. So, of course, we think of Southern Europe, the Mediterranean, beautiful warmth, heat, it's dry. We think of the olive trees, and gorgeous green dripping gorgeousness of olive oil. So for the Southern Mediterranean chard soup, it's a bit of a mouthful, I might have to think of a perkier name. That's going to be using olive oil and tomatoes, etc, etc. But today we're in Northern Europe, so you think of Northern Europe, you think of fairly mild climate, but much cooler than the south, of course, and rain, and that mildness and that rain, what does it produce? Grass, of course. We have fantastic pasture land in Northern Europe, and therefore cows, and therefore great milk and cream and butter. So today I'm going to be cooking with some butter, which is a bit of a treat for me because it's an expensive fat. So you could swap, in this recipe, you could swap the butter out and just use olive oil instead. But I have got some butter, so I'm jolly well going to use it. There's another substitute, which I'll tell you about in a second when we look at the ingredients. So this is going to be quite a sort of a hearty, thick soup, I hope. And like I said, the star of the show is the chard. Such a gorgeous veg. Some of you will call this leaf beet, I think, in other parts of the world. It's chard to me, rainbow chard. Rainbow by name, rainbow in the colours they come up. It's a fantastic veg. It's chock full of vitamins, minerals, good levels of vitamins A, C, E and K. The K, just to say, the vitamin K is used by the body to help with blood clotting, and it does have quite high levels of vitamin K, so please just take note. If you are on blood thinning drugs, blood thinners, such as warfarin, just maybe check with a nutritionist or your doctor first, excuse me, in terms of any foods which are really rich in vitamin K, because obviously if you're on a blood thinner, and this is going to help blood clot, you might need to restrict how much you have, certainly on a daily basis, but it might be one of those things that you need to restrict, you know, globally in your diet. But for everybody else, great levels of those vitamins and minerals. Some of the B vitamins, I just want to get on and cook. I will, I promise. Really good fibre content, and of course fibre, it keeps our bowel healthy, it's good for our cardiovascular health. It's a winner chicken dinner all around. The other thing is it contains quite comparatively high levels of salt compared with other vegetables. So I won't be adding any salt to this recipe. I mean, I generally don't add salt to my cooking anyway. Try it without using salt. Try making it without using salt initially and have a taste, and then if you really want to add some at the end, add some, but I won't be. So, oh, and the other thing that occurred to me, because I've got all the ingredients here ready to start on, I'll show you them more closely in a second, is I was thinking, this might be one of those really good recipes to do on sort of Boxing Day or the day after because of leftovers. So I was thinking about leftover potatoes, leftover carrots if you bought them in massive bulk. But also, I'm using coconut milk, but I was talking about that kind of Northern European fats cream. So if you like cream, I'm not a huge fan actually, but use cream instead of the coconut milk. It's going in right at the end, I'll show you. But again, I think cream is one of those things that we sometimes have left over after Christmas. We've bought tons, but everybody decides they want ice cream with their Christmas pudding rather than cream. So, oh, we've got a load of cream left over. Put it in this recipe. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the ingredients. And then I'm going to give you a note or explain something about how I'm actually going to chop and prep the veg. So our ingredients are, of course, the star of the show, the beautiful chard. I've cut myself, pulled 6 stalks. I've got a yellow one, I've got some pinky coloured ones, huge, beautiful, huge leaves. It doesn't matter what colour they are. Actually, I was thinking about this, that I've never eaten just all red or just all pink or just all yellow, etc. So I don't know that there's a discernible difference in the taste. And actually, I grow the rainbow chard, obviously to eat it, but also because in the garden, especially in winter when everything else is kind of, looking very brown and drab, it's such a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous pop of colour in the garden. It always makes me smile when I arrive in the garden. So yeah, I highly recommend growing rainbow chard. It doesn't matter what kind of chard it is though. So about 6 stalks, a couple of stalks of celery, 2 or 3 medium-sized carrots. I've got 4 carrots, but one of them is a tiddler. So it's about 2 or 3 medium-sized ones. A white onion, 1 white onion, a couple of spuds, unless you end up with an absolute stonkingly huge one like this, but that'll do us. A couple of cloves of garlic, that's to taste. Oh, I've got my dried stock. I need to restock my stock, so I'll make up a litre of stock. And then coming back to our Northern European theme, I've got my butter here. I'll use 25, 30 grams. I might use that knob in there. So it's about 25, 30 grams. And then the coconut milk. So I suppose one ought really to use cream. I'm not a huge fan of cream though, so I'm going to use the coconut milk. This is a 400ml tin. I could use the whole tin. That would be really luxe. But I think half a tin, 200ml will do. I'll save the other half to add to a curry because I love coconut milk in curry, but it is a bit of a treat, so I'm going to divvy it between 2 lots of meals. This says light. That's an accident. I didn't mean to buy a light one. There's no need for me to buy a light one. So that's it. The chard is the star. The celery, carrots, onion, that's our sort of the perfect triumvirate, the holy trinity of bases for making soup and so many other things. So that's with the stock, that's my base. The chard is the star. The spud or spudzer, that's my thickening agent, if you like. And then the coconut milk / cream is my luxury at the end. So now I better get chopping. And I'm going to mention a couple of things with chopping. Bear with me because I know some people might think I don't need a lesson in chopping, Vivi, but I'm going to explain why as I chop. Oh my goodness. That was a really, really strong onion I've just chopped. Oh my goodness. Now, the reason I'm mentioning chopping, and I don't want to patronise anyone, but it depends on how you want to serve the soup. So I'm just noisily chopping all my base ingredients. So onion, celery, carrots in a second. But I'm not, none of it's getting any kind of finesse. I'm not even looking now. Just chunking them up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big, small, whatever that. I mean, I'm aiming for roughly similar sized pieces. I don't know if I should talk and do this at the same time. Roughly the same size pieces. The reason I'm not worried about finessing it is because I'm going to blend it. I can't chop and talk, can I? Hang on, let's have you up here a second. Oh, and I want to grab a chard to explain something with the chard. Yeah, I like to blend my soups. By blending them, I always feel like it gives me the soup sort of feels thicker. It feels a bit more luxe, a bit more creamy, whatever it is, even without the addition of cream, for example. So I always blend my soups, but that's just how I like them. You don't have to, you do what you like. But because I'm blending them, I don't need to chop with any finesse. So, chunk of carrot. However, if you don't intend to blend your soup, I would say that a piece of carrot that sort of size needs chopping down there again, and then maybe, yeah, chopping it fine. Your onion, your celery, your carrots, chop them really fine. Because they're not the star of the show, they're the flavour. Likewise with the potato, I do smaller, maybe centimetre cube pieces. And then with the chard, let's just get rid of that tatty end. So again, I'm going to just really, really rough chop this. But if you're going to serve your soup unblended, I would suggest, especially in terms of cooking time too, run a knife down the side of the rib on one side and then down the side of the leaf on the other side. So you've got your stalk and your leaf separate, and then you can finely chop your stalk because it is thicker, and slightly less finely chop the leaf. Chuck them in, and you might want to put the leaf into the, your pan maybe sort of 5 minutes or so after the stalk has gone in, because it'll take less time to cook. Like I said, I'm not going to bother with all that. I'm just going to rough chop everything, whack it in the pan, and then blitz it afterwards. With things like, actually cavolo nero is another good one example. If you've got a really thick, that sort of the rib of the stem, just cut down either side of it, set your leaf bits to one side, and with that stalk, just chop it up a bit finer. Then what you can do is with all your leaves, pile them together and then sort of roll them somewhat cigar shaped, I think that's what people say, isn't it? Roll them all up, and then as you chop them along that way, you'll get nice finer ribbons of the leaf. However you want to do it, you do it. I'm just mentioning the fact that this is so rough because it's going to be blended, and it's going to be blended because I always feel like that gives me a thicker, creamier, more kind of like, ooh, luxy soup. So I'm going to get on with chopping, and then we can actually start cooking. Okay, the butter's melted. It's actually started to bubble, which I didn't want. This is on a really gentle, low heat. So, base ingredients. Butter's melted, base ingredients go in. Carrot, celery, onion, garlic. And they are going to just, really lightly just sweat down a bit, basically. This is nice, slow, gentle cooking. And actually, so whilst I was waiting for the butter to melt, I've chopped up my spud and I've chopped up my chard into, so that's all the leafy stuff, that's the stalks. The stalks, as I was chopping them, were a little bit tougher than I was anticipating, so I'm going to add them now, just so they get a slightly longer cook. I might be being overcautious. I picked some. I did this about 4 weeks ago, beginning of October, I think it was. And I think the leaves have I think everything's just toughened up a little bit in the last few weeks. Are they toughening up because it's cold? I don't know. So I'm just going to let that really gently, sweat down. I've got my stock ready, so that's going to be about 8-10 minutes. Once that's had a little bit of a sweat down, I'll then add the spuds, the chard leaves and the stock. Honestly, it couldn't be more simple. Cover it up again and then simmer it really gently for about 20 minutes or so. So I'll get on with that and then we can reconvene. Probably, I'll tell you what I'll do, because otherwise it's really noisy and too long a video. I'll get all this bit done, the simmer, etc. Then I'm going to blend it and then we'll come back, because then it'll be time for the cream and all that kind of stuff. So I'll get on with that in the meantime. See you back here in about 25 minutes by the time that's done and all the other bits are done, or 30 because I'm blending. See you in a second. It's come to the end of its simmer now. Let me just show you. Oh, it smells so good already. I'm going to let it just cool a little bit before I start blending it. But I thought I'd just let you see how it looks now, so that if you wanted to have it as an unblended soup, you get an idea of how it looks. But like I said, you might want to chop everything a bit finer. Oh, I'm salivating. I cannot wait to eat. Aren't those colours gorgeous? I want to show you really close, except I'm going to steam up. Yum, 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 yum. So this is it, all blended down. Let me just get the ladle so I can scoop a bit so you get an idea of the viscosity. Yummy and thick. Now this one looks quite sort of orangey brown, of course, because a lot of the chard I used was that really dark purple. If you make it with just green chard, as in it's green with the white, creamy white stalks, you'll get a more creamy coloured result. I'm just going to have a quick test. Do I need to add anything? Hot. No. Actually, I might not add the cream on this occasion. Actually, let's have a little stand up. Let's have a chat standing up, not bent over. I thought I'd better give you a quick shot of it in the bowl because there's no way I'm going to hold the bowl up to show you, because I'll slop it around everywhere. Oh my goodness. So I haven't added the cream. Let's sit down and have a proper chow down. Sitting amongst the detritus, all the washing up to do. But let's have a little bit. Oh, I'm quite hungry now. It's really lovely. It's actually really subtle. As you know, I didn't add any salt at all. I rarely do in my cooking. But I can taste salt in there. I can taste the salt of the vegetables. So like I said, I think if you make it... Sorry, going everywhere. A little bit of a fibrous bit there. Maybe I needed to strain it. I didn't strain it last time. Anyway, it's try it, and if you think you want to add some salt, you know, if you normally add salt to your food, you might want to, but maybe try adding a little less salt than you would normally. I think I need a bit of sourdough with this, don't I? It's really lovely. It's one of those perfect things at this time of year, isn't it? You come in from the garden. Look, in terms of making it, it's always hard to tell. Making it off camera is always a bit quicker because I wouldn't put things in bowls, just chuck them in the pan. But I would say start to finish, including blending, maybe 35 minutes. But a lot of that is chopping time, blending or what have you. In actual cooking time, it's more like 25 minutes. The kitchen's lovely and warm. I'll open the kitchen door in a minute and let that warmth into the rest of the flat. Brilliant. Now, I haven't added the cream. Lastminute.com, I've had a try. So when I made it about a month ago, I was just experimenting and I added the cream and it was gorgeous. But that coconut cream, I don't know how much it costs, a tin of coconut cream. I haven't bought any for a while. Coconut milk. It's about £1, isn't it? So just bearing in mind the expense of this recipe, let's keep it a bit lower. If you've got some leftover cream, add it. Brilliant. To bring the cost down even further, olive oil rather than butter. It's really lovely as it is. So I wanted to try it without the cream. Before, when I had it with the cream, the coconut milk, sorry. It's really lovely as it is. So I'm going to save this for curries, to make my curries extra special. I really do love it in a curry. Save it to use for the curry. I did use butter this time, so that's already put the expense up. It doesn't matter. Now the other thing is, I've got to have another spoonful. Oh, it's so lovely. It's also, I didn't add any herbs and spices, but you could put a few spices in there, just really, really mild, gentle ones to make it even warmer. But a relatively quick, easy soup to make, perfect for tomorrow. I'm hoping it's going to be a dry day in the garden. Hoping. So it's going to be dry, but it's going to be feeling really damp down there. I think there's going to be a bit of wind. So by the time I come home, I'm probably going to feel really quite chilly. So heat up a bowl of this, 3 or 4 minutes, heat it up on the stove, put my hands around it, warm myself up. Bliss. Some of you may be wondering, I know quite often the meat eaters ask me, but where's the protein? Don't worry, I'm 5'10". I used to be very muscular. I don't miss out on protein. Some meals I have and some meals I make, they are quite low in protein, in exactly the same way as my meat-eating friends might have vegetable soup for their lunch. I'll make up for it with another meal later on. But what I could do is I could put some beans in this. I could just quickly steam a handful of beans to chuck them in. Or if, for example, maybe if I'd had rice with something yesterday and I had leftover rice, I could bung the leftover rice in it. Leftover rice, leftover beans, yeah, bung them in. But as a very simple veggie soup, it's lovely. You can taste the sweetness of the carrots and the onion that comes through. And then there's that very, very, very subtle, it's really subtle, the chard, but you've got that very subtle, slightly earthy, slightly bitter taste, but it is incredibly subtle. So if, for example, I want to scoff the lot. If, for example, you find beetroots, as in the bulbous beets, if you find them too earthy, I would say this is nowhere near that earthy. Give it a go. I don't know what chard costs in the shops. I don't know, it might be one of those things that's really expensive, but I would say if you've got a little corner in your garden, I didn't blend that bit very well. It's too late to start any now, of course, but for next year, think about growing a few plants, because that's the other great thing about chard, it's cut and come again. Take a few leaves off a plant, you don't take the plant out, the plant carries on growing. I told you it was a high fibre veg. Yeah, it'll keep growing, so a couple of weeks later you can harvest another couple of leaves. So it's a cut and come again veg, great. It's dead easy to grow, great. It doesn't take up too much space, great. It goes right through winter, great. It's beautiful, all the colours in the garden in winter, great. Last year when we had I'm going to round up now very quickly, but last year we had a very unusual 10-day period in December where we were freezing at night. That's not uncommon, but we stayed below freezing during the daytime. So normally what happens is we go freeze at night, the plants go, oh, I'm too cold. And then during the daytime, it gets above freezing and they go, oh, I'm okay. And they survive it. Last winter, because we were frozen during the daytime as well, it finished off so many of my plants, including Cavolo. The chard looked done for. The leaves had turned to mush. They looked awful. But because it's a cut and come again veg, I kind of thought maybe, just maybe, it will come back when we warm up. And as we went into January, so I left them in the ground, mush, horrible. And as we went into January, started sprouting again. So that by, was it the end of February, beginning of March, I'm not sure in terms of time, but I started cropping again. Yay! So it's a really useful veg to have in the garden. It's a really great veg for our cardiovascular system. It's such a great veg all round, isn't it? It's pretty to look at, it's pretty darned hardy, easy to cook, tasty, good for our health. Yay to chard! Right, that's enough on chard. I'm going to finish my bowl. I'm going to get a little bit of sourdough to dunk in. That would be really lovely. That tanginess of the sourdough with the sweet of the carrots and onion and that slight earthy bitter of the chard. Brilliant. Go on, go away you lot. I want privacy to make noises as I eat. Alright lovelies, I will see you really soon, I hope. Possibly back in the garden. I will catch up as well soon with my Mediterranean version of a soup with chard, which will be quite a bit different. So I hope you can join me for that one too. In the meantime, happy cooking, happy soup slurping, stay well, stay cosy, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio!